And we are live. Hey, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome back to the show New York Times best-selling author Chandler Baker, here to give us the inside scoop on her bitingly good, fabulous, razor-sharp, hilarious book, Cutting Teeth. Chandler, welcome. Tell us about this book.
Thank you. I am here for all of the vampire puns. Like, I'm real into them. So
I have a stock ready to go, so I'm
okay,
good.
good. Pepper 'em in. Pepper 'em in. Yes. So Cutting Teeth takes place at this preschool called Little Academy, and the children at this preschool have developed this unsettling medical condition where they start to crave blood. And the parents all sort of have, it follows three mothers, and they all sort of have different philosophies of how to deal with this unsettling but seemingly benign medical condition. And it's going okay until their preschool teacher is found murdered on campus. And the only witnesses to the murder and subsequently suspects are the 10 adorable 4-year-olds in this classroom.
Well, Chandler, it sounds like you know a thing or two about adorable yet deadly children and motherhood bleeding you dry. And I cannot wait to get into every delicious bite of this. But first, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are going live to 7 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So, hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. It is the right time. It is Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make it a little less painful for you. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new here, oh my goodness, we're so happy to have you. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Chandler about this book. I want to know where this idea came from, that moment of inception. The praise has been amazing. People magazine raving this is a must read. Oh my gosh, we have so much to get into. So Chandler, I'm going to kick off. Where did you get this idea from?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I know, because it's kind of bananas. Like, I think we can all agree it's like a little bit of a departure. I do think in the end it sort of feels like my other books, which maybe people don't expect, but it does kind of have that like backbone of social commentary and feels very grounded just with this one weird thing. I don't know. So I come at it a couple different ways. One, I think it's always interesting that I actually sort of, when I go back and look, I often find that I laid clues to what I wanted to write about next in my previous book. And it's not a conscious thing, it's subconscious. But I was thinking about this passage that was in The Husbands, which was my last book. And I'm going to butcher the quote, but it's basically about the main character, Nora, and she's talking about how rather than add more to her plate, she feels like it would be easier to like offer her husband and her child a thigh or a shoulder and to basically cannibalize her as long as they didn't ask for seconds. So it's interesting to me that like this was an idea, the way that motherhood nibbles away at your identity, that I was starting to turn over in my head, but didn't know it yet. And so at the time that I came up with Cutting Teeth, I remember it perfectly. We were on a trip in Florida as a family. I think it was kind of our first post-COVID trip. My son turned 1 there, and he was sort of this like perfect mix of mobile and completely immune to reason. So I spent the entire time like not having one full conversation, chasing him around, making sure he didn't fall into any pools. He was banging his head on the tile. My kids are 4.5 years apart. So my daughter was over 5 at that point. I was just starting to be able to go to friends' houses and like enjoy adult conversation when I felt like I was being kind of dragged by my hair back into babydom and toddlerdom. So it was during that time I was like, what if kids were little vampires sucking you dry? And I'm like, but that's not a novel. But I thought it was kind of a great idea. And then it wasn't until I knew like, okay, and their preschool teacher is murdered, that I was like, that's actually a book that I could write. And during the course of this, which I swear I did have the idea of it first, but during the course of this, my son also became the class fighter, and had like a full year as the class fighter, where sort of I feel like I manifested it in this really terrible way. But,
Oh my God, did he ever draw blood?
um, I don't know, probably. He was out of school. I know he had some doozies in there of bites, because it was quite a to do in our life for a good amount of time.
Yes, yes. I have two friends whose kids went through biting stages, and it was very upsetting to the parents, not the kid. The kid didn't care, but to
Yeah,
the parents, it was very upsetting. Oh my goodness.
it was really hard.
It's so hard. Renee, welcome to the conversation. She says, "Hi, Sarah and Chandler from sunny and hot Southeast Florida."
I love it. I'm from Florida,
Where are you from, Chandler?
Sarasota.
Oh, great. Okay. Leach is joining us from Texas. She says, "Hello, ladies." And speaking of Texas, Chandler is your fellow Texan. She is
Mhm.
based in Austin, but y'all, she's heading to Murder by the Book on Thursday. And guess what? That means we have pre-orders for signed personalized books. Do you know what the best gift of all is? A book. You know what makes a book cooler? A signed book. You know what makes it the coolest of all? A personalized signed book. So Chandler can write happy birthday, Bobby, happy birthday, Susie, Merry Christmas. I always shop ahead. She can write anything you want. So I'm going to drop the link to order today from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Books. And y'all, click and order that now. Get that, get your shopping done early, and get something for yourself. Get a book for yourself, because you know what? You deserve it. So I'm going to pop that link up. No matter where you're watching from, you can order right here. Okay, let's get back to some of these questions and comments. First from Renee, and she wants to know, where did you vacation in Florida when the idea for this book came to you?
My parents still live in Sarasota, so we were in Sarasota visiting my parents, which is where we go most of the time when we're there.
So while your son was, as you perfectly said, mobile and yet beyond reason,
Mhm.
and he was running around the pool, Renee wants to know, did he know how to swim?
No, that's why I had to run around keeping him from falling into pools.
Oh my God, so you literally were trying to save this child from himself. Like you were
Oh,
trying
yes.
to,
I
yeah.
mean, I feel like at that age, they have such a death wish. It's like everything they do is just terrifying. So,
Oh my
um,
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
really hard.
That is
And
crazy.
now my daughter knows how to swim, and my son does not know how to swim.
Okay, so one kid is safer, and then one kid still has to be protected from himself.
Yes.
Okay. Wendy, welcome to the conversation, saying hello from Massachusetts. Hi, Wendy. Welcome. Leisha says, "Oh my goodness, little ones will do what they do. I worked at a daycare nursery for about 5 years." Oh, Leisha, this is the book for you if you work at daycare. And the crazy thing is, one of the characters' names is Mary Beth, and one of my dearest friends in the whole wide world, she may be watching, in fact, is also named Mary Beth, and she's the head of school at a school just like Little Academy. I mean, not just like, the children are not vampires at Mary Beth School, but it was so crazy when I read that. So, Leisha, this is the book for you. Renee wants to know, how did you get your son to stop biting? Yeah, what did you do?
Oh gosh. I mean, it really was stressful because, there's a thing, and Leisha probably knows this, but there's generally a privacy situation where you can't know who bit your child, but also you don't get to know who your child bit. And he was truly like the real life baby shark. He just developed a taste for human flesh, and he was rampant. But, so much so that there was a couple times that parents witnessed him biting. So they knew who we were, but we did not know who they were, which is really, really hard.
Yes.
Because, like I would have wanted to talk to them or say something, because we were doing so much. I mean, we were reading books every night about biting. We sent chew toys. We gave him like a pep talk every morning. Like we did all the things. He was shadowed at school. And there was like this campaign from this one mother to get him kicked out of school. And one of the themes of the book that
Oh
kind of
my
did come
God.
from my experience of him having of having a biter, of having sort of a difficult child in this one context was like, can you ever really see your children for who they truly are? And it was very hard because I think you get to see your child, like I do think you know your child best. You get to see them at their worst and you get to see them at their best. But it was really hard during that time to feel like he was sort of being defined by this one behavior, and that people were seeing him like as aggressive when he wasn't really an angry biter or anything. At least that's what the teacher said. He wasn't angry. He was like a very jolly biter. He just had that impulse and he went in for the kill. The thing we did honestly is we ended up taking him he only went to school from 9 to 1:30, but he did it Monday through Friday that year. We took him down to 3 days a week, and kept him home the other 2 days, which I was very lucky to be able to do. And he stopped biting. So, and then the next year, he just grew out of it entirely. He's never bitten again. So it was just that basically one semester of biting, and then it just went away like magic.
Oh my gosh. This is so funny because my husband actually said to me recently, he's like, I can't believe you've never seen Jaws. I'd never seen the movie Jaws. And he was like, Sarah, you have to see Jaws. And so I actually am scared of scary movies, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be brave and watch Jaws. So as you're talking about developing a taste for human blood and he's a biter, all I can think is dun dun.
Yes.
Dun, dun.
It was like that. It really was like that. He was like baby Jaws. But no, I run into so many parents of biters during the course already of like talking about this book for the last week. So I know a lot of people are going through it. Or I love the people that are like, oh, I was the class fighter. And I'm very relieved to find that they're normal people.
Yeah, exactly. It's just funny to hear someone. The term biter is just so funny. I don't know. Oh my goodness. And yes, I know a lot of biter kids, not a lot. I know several biter kids, but I have not met an admitted reformed biter. So I need to meet that person. Oh my goodness. Lita is saying hello from your fellow Texan, Chandler. Yay.
Set in Texas. So, I love my Texas readers.
Exactly. Now, Chandler, something that you said was really interesting. I mean, many things, but what caught my attention is when you said, this is a book about children vampires, but yet it still feels very much like a Chandler Baker book because you're really interested in exploring the dynamics of friendships, of marriages, and especially with this one, getting into different approaches to womanhood, to mothering. Mm-hmm. And so I love that you said that. Tell us more about what fascinates you about that, why you wanted to explore that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting and not, like I said, not totally intentional to kind of trace the lineage of my books. It's like, I feel like with Whisper Network, which was my first adult novel, that followed sort of women in the workplace. The husbands followed sort of working women primarily at home and their domestic responsibilities. And this really is about sort of the expectations society puts on mothers, the standards that we hold ourselves to, the things no one tells you about becoming a parent. And I just felt like there was a lot there to explore because it isn't like a lot of it is sort of an expectation that I think generationally, with the rise of sort of intensive parenting as sort of the prevailing like philosophy of parenting, we're sort of been frogs boiling in water, where I feel like we've continued to like add more and more and more to our plate. Youth sports start earlier, tutoring starts earlier. We're all doing a lot of sort of like diagnostic, neuropsych, like all these things are sort of expected of parents at this point. But a lot of it is internal too. I wanted to really get at the paradox of parenting, which is that there is so much joy in it. Like there is sort of this deep calling that is incredibly satisfying. There's nothing more that I love than like, a hug from my kid or a sweet word. But it's also very, very hard. And I feel connected to people when I confess things. Like that is my love language in my friendships. Like I want to confess things to feel close to people. And that's how I
Yes.
write too, is I want to tell the reader like the things that are hard for me. There is a scene in the book where mothers are confessing sort of like their sins of mothering. It's like, oh, I don't really give my child baths except for twice a week, or I lie on the doctor's forms how many vegetables they eat a day, or, like I let them sleep on a bare mattress and they have like all those things that, and obviously most of them are my own confessions. So I knew there was a lot there from talking to my mom friends and even people with older kids who assure me that it doesn't get easier, it gets harder.
Mm.
That there would be plenty to cover.
Oh my gosh. So funny you should mention that scene. That is I think my top favorite scene in the book, because sharing confessions is also my love language. There's nothing better than when you say the thing which you're like, oh my God, everyone's going to think I'm such a weirdo. They're going to hate me. And then everyone's like, oh my God, me too. And you're like, oh, I'm normal.
Yeah.
It's such a relief. And then you can all just start sharing. So
Occasionally I've gone in for that kind of thing, like especially in meetings. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, this will be appropriate. I'm gonna confess something very strange, and then it totally doesn't pan out. I'm like, okay, and moving on.
you're like, that wasn't me. I just was trying to make
Yeah.
everyone comfortable. Oh my God. I love it. I love it. Chandler, I want to talk about some of the incredible praise that your book has earned, because my goodness, oh my gosh, like this, a star-studded all-star who's who here of incredible blurbs and praise. Let's kick off with People magazine, who deems the book, quote, jaw-dropping, a darkly comedic send-up of motherhood. Now, when you were writing it, was that your intention? You're like, yes, I do want to write a darkly comedic send-up of motherhood. Talk about when you read that review from People magazine. Did it resonate? Were you like, I never thought of it, but I love it?
I mean, honestly, yes, I feel good because that was my intention. I think that the book is funny because I think it's funny to hear your sort of like to say those confessions and to hear them from somebody and to have that sort of catharsis and that gallows humor of like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking too. I think when I originally pitched the book, my team was thinking that I was intending something much, much darker. I think originally people were like, oh, do you mean like Bones and All, which is a great book and a great movie. But it's very, very dark. And I was thinking, no, like I am really thinking it's going to feel like Leon Moriarty, but with kids that crave blood. So I knew I meant something really satirical and fun and darkly comic. And I knew that I wanted it to be a sense of motherhood. Absolutely. Are you on mute now?
Oh, sorry. I was typing the link, the buy link. So I didn't want the clicking to distract anybody. So when you pitched it to your team and said, no, it's going to be a funny vampire book, were they like, oh, or were they like, yes? I mean, were they like, she's gone too far, she's lost it, or were they like, oh my God, funny vampires?
I think at first when I pitched it and they were thinking of it as darker, their reaction was sort of rightfully like, oh my gosh, is this the direction you want to go? Like, how is this going to be a Chandler Baker book? Like, how is it going to feel like you? And I felt very, very confident that like I had a vision for what the book should be. So after I sort of heard that feedback, I said, I'm going to write a chunk of the novel and on spec. I'm going to write it for free and I'll give it to you. So I did that. And then I think they were really able to see like what I was feeling was going to be the tone of the book and how it was going to be about these mothers who felt like their identities had been subsumed by motherhood and that they were, they each had plans to get some piece of their identity back, whether it was career, their sex life, or their bodies, and how this medical condition that their kids were suffering from was going to sort of uproot those plans that they were trying to achieve in their own life. And that felt so true to me to how it felt like to be a mom right now. And I'm very lucky. My editor is, she's in a very similar life stage as me. We share a lot of stories about our kids who are almost the same ages. She was able to contribute like a lot of her own personal stories that like found their way into the books. And, that's a big thing for writing for me in general, is I often sort of crowdsource in a way. Like I will go to every text chain I have in my life, like my high school friends, my college friends, my law school friends, and I'll ask them like I'll have sort of more pointed questions as I go on, but it'll be like, what's one thing that drives you crazy about motherhood? Like, what's the most joyous thing to you about motherhood? How do you feel like it's changed you? How do you feel like it hasn't? And I get those stories from people, and that's kind of how I make the amalgamation of the women in my books.
Well, clearly it is working, because look at the praise that this book has earned, Chandler. I mean, this must be so incredibly rewarding. I want to kick off with Kirkus, because that is a starred review, and the praise from Kirkus don't come cheap. They rave. What could be more perfect and hilariously dark metaphor for privileged modern motherhood than Baker's invention of pediatric Renfield's syndrome? Any parent who has imagined that the young children are draining the life out of them will both get the joke and feel the piercing pain. Gruesome, funny, jam-packed, sharp as baby teeth. Starred review from Kirkus. Congratulations. And how incredibly validating that must be to receive that and say, not only did somebody get it, Kirkus got it. I mean, amazing, amazing. And they are not the only ones raving. I want to go over to this review from Ashley Audrain, the New York Times bestselling author of The Push. She raves, with devourable writing and pitch perfect humor, Cutting Teeth is a sharp, original, wickedly astute look at the sting of modern motherhood. I'm putting the whole review in the comments for everyone who wants to read the whole thing. But I mean, to have the humor, but the poignancy of both the competitiveness and the exhaustion of modern motherhood, honored and seen and received. Congratulations. So great. I want to get back to some of the questions here that are just that are coming in. Renee saying, it sounds like you will survive motherhood. Chandler, how's the survival prognosis?
We're not sure. I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. So still, you're feeling hopeful.
Yeah, I'm feeling hopeful.
Alicia would like to know, she says, I love your book title. Did you come up with it? And her next question is, did you get to choose the cover? So let's talk first about the title and then this very cool cover.
Yeah, this was probably the hardest book to title for me. When I originally pitched it, I pitched it as Little Vampires. And then, we weren't quite sure we wanted to call it that. Like, we felt like that kind of gave it the wrong impression. And then it became It Goes By So Fast, because it doesn't, for those of you that are in that time of life. I was personally kind of tired of hearing it at that stage, and it lived as It Goes By So Fast for a long time. And then my longstanding critique partner, Charlotte, she pitched me Cutting Teeth as a title, and I sent it to my editor, and that ended up being the one that we really liked. So I'm happy with it and thankful that I have smart friends that are able to help me out.
Saying it sounds like the perfect title. Indeed, it does. I mean, it's so cool and it's so memorable.
Yeah.
Lisa's saying she really loves the cover. The cover is also so cool, with one of the white picket fences being bloodied and in the shape of teeth. Lisa wants to know, did you get to choose the cover?
Yeah, it works so well with the fence looking like little teeth. I don't have like a great mind for visual art like that, so I generally find that whatever they send me is like, I would be so literal about it. I think if I was asked to do my own covers, they, my publisher does send it to me. I get to provide feedback if I have any, say whether I like it or not. But I just really love sort of that Tiffany blue. I think it stands out on Instagram, which we all know is important. I can spot it from a mile away. But yeah, no, I really didn't have any notes on this other than like a little bit of placement of my name and stuff, and we added some clouds. But that was great.
And I like the flowers down at the bottom as well. It just, because it looks like it's obviously a play on the perfection of a white picket
Yes,
fence.
I've got my nails. I've got my cutting teeth nails going on, which my daughter loves.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. You guys, I want to remind you that you can get this book signed and personalized, which is a double bonus. I'm going to pop the link in the comments again so that you can order it. And our friends at Murder by the Book will send this out to you on Friday after Chandler signs them on Thursday when she is in store. So order now, y'all. Here again is that link, no matter where you're watching from on Facebook or on YouTube. Here's that link. Grab it because you're going to want to immerse yourself in the world of the blood-stained white picket fences and the world at the Academy. Leisha says, thank you so much for answering her questions. Leisha, of course, that's what we're here for. Renee wants to know, Chandler, were you a biter?
I like the idea that it comes from my husband's side. I don't know. I don't know that it's genetic. I was not a biter, and I don't think my husband was a biter either. And my daughter was not a biter. So my son came to it all by himself. He's a self-made man. Okay,
A self-made biter.
he's a self-made biter man.
Oh my gosh, I love it. You're getting so many laughing emojis up from Facebook. Okay, you guys, we have 5 minutes left. 4 minutes left. I can take a few more questions, so get them going in the comments. And I want to just share a couple more amazing words of praise. Publishers Weekly raving, suspenseful and darkly comedic tale of motherhood and murder. Baker's descriptions of the joys and trials of raising children bolster the mystery at its core. With winning cynicism, she delivers a wicked thriller that doubles at a glimpse at motherhood's dark underbelly. Chandler, what have you found to be the darkest underbelly for motherhood for yourself?
Oh man, there's so many. I think one thing that's really hard is that there's this idea that so many times people will tell you something about motherhood is normal or something about your child is normal. Like it's normal that he's biting, or it's normal that they're having some developmental delay, or it's normal that they're having trouble reading. It's normal that you had a miscarriage. It's normal that your feet grew 2 sizes during pregnancy, like whatever it is. And I think normal, it can be comforting, but it also can make it feel almost as if it's not worth commenting on. It makes it feel like sort of it's taken for granted when it's sort of a hard piece of in your life after. So I don't know. It's kind of the way that normalcy in motherhood can actually be dismissive that I think can feel incredibly invalidating, probably to women in particular, but to parents in general, that I don't know, I find hard to grapple with sometimes.
That's so interesting because I have noticed sort of a cultural desire to make things okay for the other person, when actually what would be more supportive is to be in the moment with that other person instead of trying to reassure them that it's going to be okay, or that's totally normal, or don't worry about it. It's like, what would actually feel more supportive and understanding is to say, that's really hard. I understand, that you're concerned about that. Or I understand. I see that you're worried about that. I hear you. That's valid. If it was more just being in that difficult moment instead of trying to make everything okay or normal, I personally find that to be more supportive.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And a lot of it is really well-intentioned. And a lot of times people are trying to get you not to worry about something or not to have anxiety about something. But also I think we all sort of have intuition in whether as parents or just in our daily lives. And sometimes something will raise a red flag for you, like with your kids, or, I've had moments like that and people will say like, oh, well, it sounds normal. Like your child seems totally normal. And you can think, okay, well, is it normal? Am I crazy? Am I overreacting? I don't know. There's such this tightrope, I think, that we walk as parents about not wanting to overreact, but also living in like a culture of worry where the amount that you worry and that you anticipate as a mother is sort of the symbol of good motherhood. It's really a tightrope walk that we do.
And also that exhaustion and martyrdom is a symbol of good motherhood. Like
Yes.
the person who's the most exhausted, the most drained, has worn down to a nub, a mere fragment of themselves. That is, the mark of the ultimate good mother, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
Renee says, did you dedicate this book to your son? Funny you should ask, Renee. She sure did.
I did. I feel like he earned it.
Well, since he's the inspiration and bit his way to fame. Now he's only 4, but someday he's going to see that, this is his great work.
Yes. I think it says like to, call in the jolliest spider around. I think it's like your taste for human flesh may fade. My love for you will never. He's not even 4 yet. So I feel like to have a book dedicated to you by 3, that's a good accomplishment.
He's made it. He's made it. All right, we have time for one last question. Oh, Renee, what is next for you, Chandler?
Yeah, I am starting to work on my next novel in earnest. So I have the idea. I know what it's going to be about. It's kind of like it's kind of amazing as Cutting Teeth sort of launched into the world. It feels like my brain has really opened up to allow me to spend more time on this new book. But I think it will be exploring sort of toxic masculinity and the way we side-eye men in our lives post Me Too. So sort of delving into I don't know, it still feels like a natural progression. We're swinging around the other way now for my books.
It really does. Oh my God, Chandler, I can't wait to read that. You have to come back. Now we have a tradition going. You have to come back when that is out and tell us all about that one.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Well, we are out of time, but there are so many amazing blurbs from Kristen Miller, Stephen Raleigh, Mystery and Suspense Magazine, El Casamino, Stacey Willingham, Ashley Audrain. Oh my God, the page just keeps going. I put them all in the comments so you can read them at your leisure. Remember to pre-order the book tonight so that Chandler can sign it and personalize it, and the good folks at Murder by the Book can send it out to you Friday morning. That is a wrap. I'll be back at the top of the hour with Brandon Webb, real life sniper turned New York Times bestselling author, and his writing partner, John David Mann. Stay tuned.